Hello!
Oh,
Nice to see you, Hannah Lisa. So lovely to see you. So lovely to have you here. We were just talking about how we met,
yeah.
and we met through the wonderful maestra, mentor, force of nature, who is Nelly Mirichoyu Kirk.
Yeah.
She a wonderful teacher, and you still with her, aren't you? You still work and train with her, which is absolutely fabulous. She has also done a Safe at Home live session. So if
She,
anybody hasn't seen that,
she
please,
has
please, please have a look at that. Pardon, what did you say, my
to
love?
go and watch it. Anyone who
Yeah, exactly. Um, and we also realise that what we have in common is Opera Works.
yeah. I was there 2013.
Yeah, and I think I was just before maybe 2011 or something.
Yeah, yeah.
Having no idea of what opera was, or it was very funny. But
Those good
at
old
least
fashioned.
at least I knew that I wanted to kind of look into that space of what could I possibly do and what could I possibly sing, and
Yeah,
it was very good for researching roles as well. Did you notice that?
yeah. I enjoyed. I loved. I mean, Opera Works was the reason I moved to London because I'd always said I wasn't going to move down here until I had something to move for. Uh,
Yes.
So I moved down and it was great because it was this kind of weekend every now and then. I don't know if it was the
Yeah.
same way with you,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
to just look at different things and research roles and explore roles that you hadn't known. And I
Yeah.
loved it. I really enjoyed it. It was a great introduction to the London scene as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I had a really good time, and I had the wonderful Elizabeth Llewellyn on my one as well, and Rhonda Brown, who we've got on tomorrow, by the way, Rhonda Brown. So
Uh-huh.
yeah, and it's her birthday tomorrow, so we'll all have to sing her happy
Oh,
birthday
just
tomorrow. So we've got the lovely Gershon Gubby saying,
yeah,
"So great
all the
to."
way to the Netherlands. He's in
Oh,
Holland.
is she?
He
Oh, oh,
part of
he
our
is.
hi. Yes.
Oh, hello, hello, hello. So he's saying, "So great to watch and see you smiling." So I can't see your picture there, so I didn't know.
Wonderful.
Yeah. So anyway, good morning, good morning, good morning. I am Nadine Benjamin, international soprano. I'm also a certified high performance coach and an accredited neuro linguistic programming mind coach, which is NLP. So neuro, the brain, linguistic, how we speak to the brain, and programming the different habits and patterns that we set up in the brain for opportunity or for challenge, and how we can change some of those limiting beliefs sometimes when they come up, which is absolutely wonderful. Today, I have the lovely and brave and courageous British mezzo-soprano Hannah Lisa Kirchin, trained at the National Opera Studio, Opera Works, and the Royal Northern College of Music, and studies with the wonderful Nelly Mirichoyu Kirk. Her roles have included many at English National Opera, Welsh National Opera, Scottish Opera, and during the 2019 season, she sang Ensemble in Dido Aeneas, E&O, and made a main stage debut as Woodpecker cover Forester's Wife, the Cunning Little Vixen for Welsh National Opera. Other roles have included Varvara in Katya with Scottish Opera, Tisbe in La Cenerentola, Helene in War and Peace, and both were for Welsh National Opera. Further in performances, see role debuts in Mexico. Oh, wonderful. Lovely, 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 lovely. So, as I always say, and I haven't said this part for a long time actually, that Hannah Lisa and myself are not doctors or medical doctors. So we are just here to provide a space to really just learn of new understandings of the way the different people that come on here and talk deal with life, deal with things, and share their stories as a way of connection in what we call safe at home time, where we can all just be in connection and in conversation with each one. If you know somebody who is not in that connection space and needs some kind of support, please, please, please pick up the phone to them, and never, ever be afraid to pick up the phone for yourself to get the support and the help that you need. We are here for that. We are here to open this space up to that and to see no judgment, especially in times when mental health has become more and more of an issue. Remember that just because you are physically isolated does not mean to say that you have to be emotionally isolated, and that everything may be on hold around you, but you are not on hold. As long as you breathe, as long as there is breath running through your body, everything is possible. So we have Kirchin saying, so great to watch, as he said. Oh yeah, and then we've got Kezia saying morning.
Morning,
Elizabeth. We've got Elizabeth saying hiya. Gertrude is saying thank you for waving, love from Amsterdam, Netherlands. And we've got Andrew Ketchin saying good morning.
Dad, that's my dad.
Oh, hello, Dad. How are you? Lovely to hear you and see you. Lovely. Thank you. So tell us, Hannah-Lisa, when did you first realise that you could sing?
Yeah, I was thinking about this yesterday, and I don't know necessarily. I don't remember when it was that I knew I could sing, but I did have an image last night of the first moment that my singing created a reaction that I wasn't used to. I've been singing since I was very little, and Dad will tell you that I knew most of the lyrics to Simply Red and the Monkees and all these people by the time I was about 3, and we used to do a lot of car journeys, and apparently I would sing full belt with all the lyrics at about 3 years old. And I started piano when I was 7, and I loved to sing, but it was never anything more than that, really. I remember in primary school, we had a school choir, and I'd been in the choir for a couple of years. And then completely for no reason at all, I decided I wasn't going to be in the choir. I wasn't going to audition. And I've not thought about this for years until we spoke yesterday. And I remember I had a teacher at school called Anne Marshall, and she was a primary school teacher, and she also played the piano for the choir. And she said to me, I think you should audition again. And I remember being in the school assembly hall. So I couldn't have been more than 9. And she was playing this upright piano, and I had to sing a hymn and audition. And she winked and gave me a thumbs up in this kind of like, see, I told you you needed to audition way. And it's the weirdest memory. That didn't have any effect on me at the time. But I do remember that now as thinking, oh, so what I'm doing is that's good, somebody. And then I continued to sing. And I think when I got to high school and we had the most amazing performing arts department, my school itself didn't have the greatest reputation, but we had this incredible performing arts department run by a lady who I don't know if she'll watch, but I'm going to share it with her later, called Janet Whittingham, who was the head of the department, and I credit hugely for where I am today, because she became my singing teacher later on as well. But she just had this amazing department that just encouraged everyone to sing.
Yeah.
And I started to get the occasional solo, and I started thinking, yeah, I can sing. I want to be able to do this, but I don't know if I can do this. It's that all I wanted in the world was to sing.
Yeah.
Actually, in musical theatre, that was my first choice. Was I wanted to do musical theatre. I didn't.
Yeah, that's so common, that teacher link, the musical theatre link. Really, it's such a common kind of doorway, isn't it?
Yeah, and it wasn't until I was 16, I would say, I had to have singing lessons in order to do A-level music. To take a practical exam, you had to have lessons in that practice.
Yeah.
So I was given singing lessons with Janet, and I discovered classical music, and that was where that started, really. So not till I was 16.
Yeah.
But so yes, I remember. I don't know when I knew I could sing, but I've always just had it as part of me, I think.
Yes, yeah, no, that's beautiful. That's you've explained that really well. Good morning, Linda. Lovely to see you. So for a lot of it, singing is another way of speaking up, of speaking out. You know, how does this form part of your creativity now?
Massively.
Yeah.
I for me, the creativity is exactly the word. For me, I love it. And that is what I'm missing at the minute more than anything.
Yeah.
Is being in a room with people and creating something and singing and making music. I mean, I love being on the stage and I love being in front of an audience and I love getting dressed up. But I love rehearsals. I love coachings. I love just creating. And also, I think I've always done it because it's always been a solace for me performing. Going back to high school was not an easy time for me.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people, and particularly if you're into music for some reason.
Yeah.
And my days, my every lunchtime, every after school was filled with music and drama because that was what I wanted to do and I could escape. And it sounds very cliched, but it was a form of escape from, you know, not a very nice time at school. And it stayed like that for me. It stayed as a place where you just put everything away and you go into that room and you just create something. And you can speak and you can sing and you can do whatever you need to do, and you can be people that you would never be confident enough to be in your real life. Or so it is. I was trying to think again last night after we spoke about is there any way I can make it not sound cliched? And there isn't, because it truly is.
Yeah.
Creativity is just an amazing thing to be part of, and I really, really miss it. I really miss it.
I hear you. I hear around, you know, that thing of really missing creativity and missing being engaged with colleagues and the stage and the lots of repertoire that that we get to sing. But in terms of creativity, you know, you talked about it being a solace. I really identify with that, and actually, it was a lot more the transition for me to show my creativity or my singing, because I used to do it in private. So that was a way of comforting myself. So then to have to put it on show has been quite a journey for me, in terms of that. So I love hearing that you like, I love being on the stage.
I do. I think, and I don't think there's many. I think, you know, a lot of singers think it's a little bit naughty to admit that they love being on the stage. But I really love it, and I love that feeling of an audience, and it doesn't matter how many people.
Yes.
I love that feeling of they're enjoying that, because when I'm in an audience, I'm desperate to be in anything I'm going to see, and I just love it. But saying that, I really enjoy the rehearsal process. I really enjoy when you go into a room and make a complete fool of yourself or mistakes, and it's okay. Because I do find that when you get, certainly as you go further on, you get into a performance space, and the possibility to make mistakes is a little bit less accepted by your own self. So being in a rehearsal space, I just love it. And coachings, when you know, you're singing through a role and you're just learning it and you're discovering it for the first time, and it's magic.
How long does it normally take you to learn a role?
Oh, depends. I am quite a quick learner. I think partially because of the piano playing.
Yes. Oh, yeah, because you do play the piano, don't you? Which is wonderful to see.
I've played for a very long time, and I particularly recently. So I'm playing this is the only thing about online, is that when you're on the phone, you don't care how you look. When you're looking in the thing, I'll have to stop.
You are beautifully stunning.
I'm aware of how much I play with my hair, lockdown hair. It depends, and it's funny because I was talking not long ago to somebody. When you're in you know, when you've got all the time in the world to learn something, never learn it. I never do it in that time. I've always been a better person with a bit of pressure.
Yes.
But it depends on the role and and how easy it is. And if it's something with a lot of ensembles, it takes me a bit longer because learning something without being with those other people is quite tricky. If
Yes.
it's something where it's just arias and recits, then it's not too bad.
Yes. Yeah.
But I remember one year I had which year was it? It was 3 contracts following on one from another, which was very lucky.
Yeah.
Like, right, well, once I'm doing the shows for this one, I can start to learn the next one. Absolutely pants. I didn't. Because your brain is just like, I know, I'm not doing it. And then you find yourself like 3 days to go with rehearsals, and you've been learning it, and you've nailed get to rehearsals and it's all gone. It varies. I don't know. I mean, I haven't had to learn a role now for nearly a year, so who knows how long it's going to take.
I love that though. I love the honesty, you know, because I'm one of those singers as well. I learn much better under pressure. And I think it's because I'm from a corporate background. So I'm used to working under pressure anyway. So like if I'm under pressure, I can get it done. There, done. But I love what you say, because I always do that when I've got like 3 or 4 roles back to back. I'm like, yeah, and then I'll learn that one. And then I learn, and you're absolutely right. It is pants.
With all the will in the world, you can spend a whole day trying to learn it, and you get to the end of it and you think, oh, I've got it. Next morning you come back to the room, there's not one word gone. Yeah, because and the other, I think, I can't remember. It must have, I think I was doing something, I was covering something really small somewhere. I can't remember what it was. And the next thing I had was Ruggiero in Alcina, which was like massive.
Yeah.
And this role I had before was tiny, but I couldn't shift it from my mind.
Yeah.
Because I was so focused on it.
Yeah.
Just, yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, different strokes for different folks, and it works. And we can be better at sometimes than we can at others. But undoubtedly, first day of rehearsal, it's in the bag. It's in the bag. No choice about that, do we, as opera singers? We've got no choice.
But then you get to that rehearsal and immediately you forget the first thing you've got to sing. And you feel like an absolute disaster. And then on the second day it comes back.
Yeah, exactly.
That's my cycle. And I always go to the first day of rehearsal thinking, oh, this is great, I'm fine. And then it's not. But also, you learn from just being there. It's memory, it's muscle memory. It's that, oh, I moved, so this scene, yes, I do this, and this is this, and this is how, and that's the joy of rehearsal, and that's why you want that rehearsal time.
Yeah. Oh, well, lovely. Good morning, Christian. Thank you for saying hello. So tell us, we're here to talk about living and singing with endometriosis. Can you explain first, before you go into that, what is endometriosis?
Yeah, I was researching a little bit last night to make sure, because there's so many different ways of explaining it, and I just wanted to make sure I wasn't saying anything wrong.
Yeah.
So the lining of the womb, called the endometrium.
Oh, okay.
Endometriosis is when tissue that is similar to the lining of the womb. There is a debate. There's not a debate. There is a question as to whether it's actual lining of the womb that hasn't. So when it's getting out of your body on a monthly basis, that it doesn't. Some of it doesn't get out.
Okay.
It kind of gets diverted.
Yeah.
So either it's that it is actual womb lining, or it's just a tissue that is similar to it.
Yeah.
That ends up transplanting itself onto various organs within the body, outside of your uterus. So the best way I think you can describe it is it's like mold. It's like it lands on something and it stays there. And then what's amazing about the condition, if it wasn't so horrible, it's genius.
Yeah.
It's connected to this like big hive mind, this big brain. So whenever you go through a period, I was trying to think of like less, like a really smart way of saying it, but it's period.
Or menstruation or what,
Menstrual cycle, monthly.
Yeah. Yeah.
You go through that.
Yeah.
Not only do you have that, but this tissue also bleeds. Yeah.
No.
But unlike your menstrual cycle, which exits your body, this tissue has nowhere to go. It can't escape. The bleeding can't escape. So if you imagine a dirty plate and you just continue to eat food off it, let it dry, continue. It's just a constant buildup of endometrial tissue, which in its nature causes scar. It basically creates scars. It creates this thick scarring on various organs of the body, and it just continues to bleed every month.
So when you say various organs of the body, do you say like it could be like your heart or your lungs or your...
Well, technically, yes. Lungs, I've heard it be on lungs. With me, so I both first and I've had 3 surgeries. First and second surgery, they found it on my bladder, on my bowel, on my ovaries, around my backside. They found it.
Wow.
It can be lungs. It can. I don't know if it could be heart. I don't know, but yeah, it can be anywhere, and it just creates patches, and those patches grow, and the more they grow, things can stick together. They can, and it's a very, very unpleasant condition, and it causes a lot of pain. And
why does it cause pain? That's the bit I've never quite understood. Do you know?
No, I mean, no, I don't know exactly but I think basically, if you imagine that it's scarring, it's additional tissue, it's blood, it's like scabs, I guess, inside your body that just, but also because those organs are so delicate, there must be some kind, and things stick together. So, for instance, I know that I had a problem with one of my ovaries being quite stuck down because of scarring. So it's not allowed to do what it's supposed to do. It's inflammation. Kezia
Kezia's saying inflammation.
That too. It's like anything that's not normal for your body. Pain, and depending on the things you have, you can get other things associated with it. Fibroids, which I've just had dealt with as well, and it has to work harder. Everything has to work harder. It's a nasty, nasty, nasty condition.
I'm really, I'm just like, wow. So in terms of living and singing with endometriosis, how does that work for you?
At this point, I've kind of got used to a terrible thing to say, but I have. I'd always had problems since I was little. But I was a big child. I have a propensity to be a fuller-figured lady.
Yes, darling.
I was fuller-figured from a young age. So there was always that kind of, oh, well, you're a big girl, so it's probably why you're having problems. Or, oh, you just got an excess of this hormone, so you're probably having problems. So it just kind of went with the fact that was my deal for a long time. Then there was a point where polycystic ovaries was mentioned, but then that checked, didn't have that. It was never mentioned to me that there was even a thing called endometriosis.
Wow.
And during my time at the Northern, it started to get progressively worse and worse. But again, I just took it that was my deal. And I had a really unhelpful female GP there who kindly told me, but you do know that periods are painful, don't you? And I just remember thinking, oh, thanks. I know I didn't. I've been going through that for 10 years and had no idea. But I just thought, how do you know what mine are like? And how do you know what yours are like? So I was very annoyed, and I was always on some kind of treatment for it. Never seemed to work. You just assume that your body is responsible for that, and you assume that that's me not being able to manage it. So when I moved to London, I remember in the months leading up to coming to London, I was really struggling, really struggling. And I remember I used to be a steward, an usher at the Royal Northern as well. And I remember vividly standing, waiting to take tickets. And it was like somebody had pulled me from the inside and my legs just gave way.
Wow.
And I was just like, this isn't normal. Wait, whatever this isn't right. But I was so disillusioned by the advice I was getting up north that I just thought, right, I'm going to London in a couple of months. I'm going to go and get it sorted.
Yeah.
So I came to London. I went to my GP, who's brilliant, who I still have now. And he said, okay, we'll put you on the right track. They sent me off and I had a scan and discovered fibroids. And I was like, oh, okay, so that's the answer. And he said, no, that's not the answer. There's more than that. So he sent me for further exams. And at that point, I Googled fibroids and I wrote the symptoms down. I then put those symptoms back into Google and this word endometriosis came up. And I read articles and it was like that light bulb moment where I was like, oh, that's me.
Yeah.
That's what's going on.
Yeah.
So I went to a consultant and I was very fortunate that I had this brilliant female registrar and I said, look, I've been having a think and a chat and a look and I think this is what it is. And she said, yeah, so do I.
Yeah.
So the only way you can diagnose it is with surgery.
Oh, wow.
Which is frustrating.
Yeah.
Really. I mean, I think you can diagnose it a little bit by an internal scan, but I never had one of those. So they scheduled me for surgery, which happened during my first week at the National Opera studio.
Oh, wow.
So I was on a cancellation list. I started on the Wednesday before I was meant to start at the studio on the Monday. I got a phone call to say, can you come next week? So I started at the studio on the Monday, had my surgery on the Thursday. I came back to the studio the following Tuesday and they diagnosed me then with endometriosis and fibroids. And it's been a battle since then. And I have had 3 surgeries now. I had my surgery 2 years ago. So just before I was meant to start a contract, I did start the contract. Crazy. I don't advise it. I don't advise it, but we have no choice in this business to just deal with it. And then I just had the most recent one then, just 12 days ago, my last surgery.
Yes.
But it's a big battle because nobody knows anything about, well, people know very little about this condition and there's not much awareness of it. It's better now. This year has been a really interesting year. A lot of awareness has been started to be raised. But for the government and everything, which is amazing. Debilitating. It's chronic pain condition and it's life altering.
Yes.
It's not life threatening. It's not, but it's life altering. And you know, you're not just going through this. There's this assumption that, oh, it's periods. Women get periods.
Yeah.
So that's okay.
Yeah.
It's not.
Yeah.
I don't just suffer with endometriosis 4 days a month. I suffer with it every day. And that's a very difficult thing to understand. And as a singer, where you cannot use a period as a reason to not do your job, very, very tricky. So I've been diagnosed 7 years. I've been dealing with it 6 years. I've been dealing with it for 6 years and trying to navigate my way through treatments that don't really work for me. I'm unfortunately someone who it appears that hormonal treatment doesn't work for. So navigating my way through that and just it's field.
It's really interesting. If you have a question for Kezia, I'm looking at Kezia's name. She is a doula now, actually, so I'm sure she has many.
This kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. But if you have any questions for Hannah-Lisa, please do put them in the chat, and we will do our best, and Hannah-Lisa will do her best to answer them if she can. So I mean, in terms of like, if you do get a really bad pain experience, is it best for you then to rest and go to sleep, or to what I mean, in terms of hydration and food? I mean, what does that look like?
Yeah, I think it depends. Hydration is always a good thing.
Yeah.
There are I am mindful. I'm not particularly cautious with food and things like, but there are things for me, like I've been told soya products are off limits.
Yeah.
Because it acts as a kind of false hormone. See, I've got my hot water bottle. See, because it's and there are certain, like dairy generally is I don't stay off it, I just limit it.
Yeah.
But it depends. For me, I think I've become quite accustomed to the pain.
Yeah.
So my threshold is quite high. And therefore I've learned to perform, to sing, to rehearse on that. One thing I have discovered that's real thing is they call it endometriosis fatigue. And it's not even I need to sleep. It's just my body just goes, is just exhausted. And I fight. I am I'm stubborn. I do fight it. I'm not great at letting myself be. And haven't really ever had the chance to, because I've always been doing something. I've always been in rehearsals. Like I said, the second surgery, they cancelled. I was meant to have 10 days or something between surgery and starting a contract. They cancelled it the last minute, and they postponed it a week. So I had 3 days between surgery and starting production rehearsals. And my body did it. My body recovered. My voice was fine. All that was fine. I don't know, would I have recovered as quickly if I didn't have it? I don't know. In a way, I'm really grateful to have to be busy and to have that mentality. But there are times when it's impossible. The past few months, it's interesting, talking about thresholds. I have a high pain threshold. I have tolerance. The past few months, I didn't have one. And that was because my symptoms and what I was going through far outweighed anything I'd been through before.
Yes.
As it turned out, with the surgery, what they found, what they did, and how long the surgery took and all that was a reflection of that. I mean, the surgery this time was 5 hours long.
Wow.
So there was a lot, and there was a lot of stuff gone on, and and what they removed and resolved showed me why I'd had these symptoms for 3 months. So my body had really told me what was going on. Thank you, Linda. Thank you. It had really told me what was going on, and I just kind of pushed through it, but I knew something wasn't right. So it's day by day. Day to day. And I'm really good at looking after other people, and I love helping other people, and I'm terrible at doing I'm sure you're the same. I'm terrible at doing it myself, and like, oh no, I'm fine, I don't need that. And that's something I'm learning and I'm getting better at, is that every now and then I just have to say, actually, this isn't a good day. This is
I mean, I have to identify with you because I got diagnosed with ME about 10 years ago. And so the way that I deal with that, I've got tiny signs in my body that tells me when I just need to stop. So I cope with that. And like you, I listen to my body that well that I know. But of recent, I've had a bad bout of fibroids. And they really affected my system. And there could have been surgery, but the best way that they're dealing with them is actually they put me on chemotherapy.
Right.
So
Interesting.
so it's a very different way of looking at how to do it. But because they just said the type of surgery that I would have had to have in order would have been so dangerous in
Right.
order to for my situation,
Yeah.
that actually having this reducing of the growths
Yeah.
in this way actually then may result in me not having to have any surgery whatsoever, or having a tiny keyhole surgery in in comparison to being cut all the way down the middle and the side.
Because people, I think it's my main culprit this time. So my main culprit has always been endometriosis. It's always been, they've gone in, they've found endometriosis, and after the last surgery, they said, look, you have a couple of fibroids, and they will need removing at some point because they're growing.
Yeah.
So a year and 2 months ago, my biggest fibroid was 7 centimeters wide.
Yeah.
Which is decent, but not,
Yeah.
And so when my symptoms started to recur quite quickly after the last surgery,
Yeah.
I was like, oh, endometriosis is back. And the doctors thought the same thing.
Yeah.
So, well, we'll do the surgery, we'll go and get it, and we'll take the fibroids out while we're there.
Yeah.
When they went in this time, there was very little endometriosis. It was only in the pelvic cavity, just one patch. I had 3 fibroids, and the bigger one weighed half a kilo.
Yeah, exactly. Mine's is 12.9. Like they said, it was like a 9-month-old baby.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's not nowhere near that now because it's working. Yeah.
But that's, and it's because so it was 15. My biggest fibroid was 15 centimeters across and weighed 550 grams. My auntie Hazel describes it as a hedgehog that's rolled up. Which is true. It's like, and then I had 2 others that were both 5 centimeters, one which wasn't there a year ago. So that were growing. So I had keyhole surgery.
Yeah.
And I had a remarkable surgeon who I waited for him, but it was worth the wait.
Yeah.
Who was able to remove these fibroids via keyhole. But the trauma that has been on the inside of my body, I wasn't expecting. I just wasn't expecting it, and it's taken a battering. But they're gone, and hopefully that will give me some relief for some time. One of the other things about endometriosis is there is no end to it. Really, there are things they think that pregnancy. If you're able to be pregnant, they think that pregnancy can stop it because your hormones reset. Your body goes back to like a factory setting, and there is proof that endometriosis has stopped after pregnancy. But other than that, it's hormonal treatment. And if you're not the person who hormones work for, which I think I'm not, it's you expect it to be a fairly regular occurrence that you're going to have your surgery.
Oh wow! Well, it's just a stunning story. I mean, it's really wonderful that you can be a light for so many other women going through exactly the same.
So many of us, and that's another thing that I've been gobsmacked by.
Yeah,
is that they think 1 in 10 women have it.
Wow!
And it's the same. That's the same statistic as diabetes in the UK. And if somebody came to you and said, I've been diagnosed with diabetes, you should go, oh my goodness, because that is a life-altering thing. That is something that really affects. And yet somebody comes with endometriosis, and maybe now it's more, but up until people go, what's that? And then you tell them it's related to the reproductive system. Oh, okay. So it's like a thing, it's like a period thing. It's a bad period.
Yeah.
It's really,
I have no idea.
No idea. And it's interesting because, for example, it's 4 stages, endometriosis. They diagnose it in 4 stages. So 1 being mild, 4 being like really quite horrendous. Like you're likely to have things removed, like organs removed if it's on there. But the stage that you are at is not relative to the pain you feel. So at stage 1 or stage 2, which is mild or but superficial, it's all about how deep into the tissue the scarring has gone. So you can have more pain as a stage 1 endometriosis than you can as a stage 4. Some people go years and years and years and never know they've got it.
Yeah.
Or they go and they find their stage 4.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's common, and women are terrified to talk about it because it's periods.
Yeah, well, periods, fibroids, endometriosis. I mean, and this is why we're encouraging this conversation now, because we mustn't be afraid of our bodies. I mean, we know in the whole patriarchal system anyway that, our bodies have been, not heard as much as we would like, but it's our time now to just kind of claim that back and, get these conversations going. So, in terms of tips that you would give to people, what 3 tips would you kind of, in any form, whether general or to do with endometriosis, what would your 3 tips be?
I mean, they're all kind of connected, to be honest, the tips.
Yeah.
I think for anybody, no matter who, no matter what job you're in, whatever, if you have endometriosis, you think you might have it, you have anything related to endometriosis, inform yourself and communicate about it. Because of the nature of the condition, and because of the fact that it's not very well known, and because of all this, there are kind of generic rules, there are generic attitudes towards it. Oh, well, this is how it feels, this is how what the symptoms are, this is what you experience, and this is the treatment. And realistically, that's not always the case. Every human being is different. We're all our own thing. And so what might work for you might not work for somebody else, and vice versa. So inform yourself. You Google endometriosis, the top 10 articles all start with the same sentence. All of them, because there isn't that much out there on it. Where I learned the most stuff was on forums. I joined a few forums of women who had endometriosis. And of course, there's going to be stuff that's not relative to you. But I learned more about my condition by reading what other women had written and what they'd been through and what their experiences had been. And I was able to just I found out, for instance, about pelvic physiotherapy. I'd never been physiotherapy. And somebody said, this is what I was told to do, and I went to do it. So I started just before lockdown. I started pelvic physiotherapy, and I didn't get far enough into it because of lockdown, but it made a difference. So inform, read, research. Don't be afraid to say what accept traditional things. What can I look at? Look at diet. Look at exercise. Look at supplement. There's plenty of suggestions of natural supplements that you can use to support the system or to prevent. And I use a long list of them, and I'm open to them working. I don't know at this stage if they're working. Embrace the fact that they're working and hope they are. What kind of, is there any kind of physio or massage or anything? Kezia actually.
I tell you what has been great for me is acupuncture and Chinese herbs.
Yeah, a lot of it.
Yeah.
All that stuff. Kezia actually mentioned something to me recently, which she can write down there because I can't remember. My phone's off. A type of massage that apparently is very, very good for it. And just explore and talk to people about it and reach out and open up. And I think that's the main thing for anyone. With regards to being a singer or anybody who uses the body, so an actor, a dancer, if your body is your creation, that's what you know your body better than anyone else.
Exactly.
You know what your thresholds are. You know when something feels normally bad or really awful. Don't let anybody tell you how you're supposed to feel.
Exactly.
And we are so lucky to have doctors and nurses and people who do know, but there is a limit to how someone can tell you what your condition is if they don't know. And so don't let somebody say, oh well, this is your this is how it's going to be for you, because maybe it isn't. So trust your body. Trust that you understand your limits, you understand what feels good and what doesn't, and explore things. I've explored a lot of things, and I've explored them sometimes to prove that I'm willing to explore them, and they've not worked. And then I've explored things, and then sometimes I've just said no.
Yes.
Because, you know, with me, they wanted to use a hormonal treatment, which they kind of did. And then that didn't work. So, we'll use just another hormonal treatment.
Yeah.
But it's just in a different mask. And it's not going to, and so there came a point, I think, where after something like my fifth pill, whatever, I just said, I can't do it. It's just the sacrifice that my body is going through is too much. So just trust your body and know yourself, and say your limits. And third tip, I think specifically for singers, probably maybe for actors as well, but for singers, keep a connection with whoever it is you trust with your voice, be it your teacher, your coach, your ENT, whoever that is. Maintain that connection and check in with them very regularly. If we all know, as singers, we know that the period and the cycle affects the voice. Doesn't mean you can't do your job, doesn't mean you can't sing, but it's your body is dealing with something. There's swelling, there's pain. If you are going through endometriosis or anything similar, you're going through that on a fairly constant basis. It's not just when you have your period. So the voice is a volatile enough thing on a normal basis. Because it's connected to us, and we're human, and we have emotions, and we have time, we have stress. But when you're going through something regarding pain, with any treatment, with anything like that, it's even more so. I'm very, very, very fortunate that I have somebody who I trust implicitly with my voice. And she knows my voice inside out. I also, outside of lockdown, have coaches that I go to who I trust, and you do have to check in and just remind yourself and find things that can, you know, you can't use it as a reason not to sing.
I think it's really important for the body as well, Hannah-Lisa. That's what I've realized through my experience, you know, my lived experience, is that, you know, I've had to keep singing. You know, I did shut down for like 3 months because, you know, I just couldn't, my body couldn't do anything. And, you know, but then I realized that, you know, the most important thing for me that my body had missed was the cycle of singing. And then getting my voice. And my voice is there. Like, you know, we have these, you know, because we sing so much anyway, our voices are just where they're supposed to be, you know. So it's a very it's a process, I think, and everybody's process is different. But I really love what you said about don't stop singing, don't stop, you know, because it actually helps this part of the body as well.
It does, and it's interesting because last year I was undergoing a hormonal treatment following the previous surgery. So last September, and I knew it wasn't right for me. But I was going through it. I wanted to travel it. I wanted to see how it went. I at least try it. And I was in Holland and I was singing. And there was nothing wrong with my voice. Absolutely nothing. My body, my engine, just couldn't. And I kept going and kept singing, and really nobody except those really, really, really close to me would have known any different. There was something for me that wasn't, and I kept singing, and the body, you need your body to work. And one of the things I have is that because I hold a lot because of the pain, I'm used to holding my abdomen and everything in a very straight way. So my sensation there is not perhaps as normal as a lot of people's, and I'm used to relax. Well, so I came off that treatment, and I spent the time since then rejigging, rebuilding, and re-exploring, and it's just been bliss. And make yourself do it. There are days when I can't, but to make
Yeah.
yourself just do something, even if that's a couple of lip trills and you realize it's working.
Yeah. Christian's just asking, I'm curious as to how endo interacts with stress.
I don't know about the like logistical, the actual things.
Yeah.
I do know that if I'm, I think it works both ways. If I'm
Yeah.
stressed, I will feel more pain. But similarly, I think for me it's the other way around. Endometriosis, the pain, the tension causes a lot of stress. And I do find one of the best things for me is massage. I'm missing that a lot. Thai massage, I go for that because the body just holds so much pain and so much stress. But I do find, yes, unnatural stress or extra stress, not so much singing stress, because I think we're so used to dealing with stress like that anyway. But I think the two are quite interchangeable. I do think they're very strongly connected, stress and endometriosis.
So Grace Lovelace is saying, thanks, Hannelisa, very enlightening. And Isabel Baquero is asking, what is the best diet for endo?
There is a lot written about it. I'm definitely not the person who can say, but but from what I've gathered, and you would have to look and double check, it's things like it's what you would associate with a normal diet, like a normally not too much dairy, from what I understand.
Yeah.
So yeah, now it's interesting because somebody I know, another singer friend of mine who has endometriosis, was recently told that she should have soya in her diet. Now I've been told I shouldn't.
Oh, well, I've been told I shouldn't as well.
So soya is like a hormone replacement therapy. So if you have too much of the hormone that exacerbates endometriosis in your body, you should not be adding to it. So I don't have soya. Not too much dairy, not too much carbohydrate because it blocks. And some of the delightful symptoms of endometriosis are to do with going to the bathroom, going to the toilet. So you don't want to be blocked in any way because it's just, it's not, I don't have great control over my muscles and all that. So you don't want that. But lots of green veg, they like nuts and seeds and all that. There's so much written. I wouldn't take the responsibility of advising on diet, but there's a lot of suggestion, and also there's a lot of supplements that you can add to the diet that are particularly useful. Things like turmeric, cinnamon, ginger. I take all these things, zinc, magnesium, all these types of things as well. But I'm very, if anyone wants to ask questions or write or whatever, I will always point you in the right direction of websites and things.
And Isabel, I'm more than happy. I've got two nutritionists that I can recommend. One is a medical nutritionist, and she's somebody that's really saved my life. And then there's another nutritionist as well who just recently wrote a book. So I can send you, I'll put both of those nutritionists in the chat. So if there's somebody that you want to go to, then you can. Which I think is always advisable. And I also take a lot of pro greens, which is kind of like, probiotics for the body, but also alkalining stuff for my body has always been, I've been told to go down an alkalining route. So that's what I've been doing. So everybody has a different journey, and it's to discover what your journey is for you. As Hannelisa has consistently said through this chat, is to listen to your body, really take responsibility for that, be in charge of that. We can never be in control of what happens, but let's be in charge of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, Hannelisa, thank you so much for such an in-depth interview and for really just kind of taking us all on a journey. And thanks everybody for contributing to the space and staying in connection to that. Hannelisa, where can we find you?
On my sofa most of the time. Facebook. I have a website, hannalisakirchin.com. I'm pretty active on Instagram and social media and various things which have been there on the poster. And you can find, and I'm very open to. I was saying to you yesterday, it's a fine balance to strike, because I've always wanted to put myself on the online platforms as a singer. That's what I want to do.
Mm.
But I do feel a certain responsibility is a very big word. I don't want to become a torchbearer for this, but it's one of those weird things where I want to talk about it all the time because I feel like it's not talked about enough. But at the same time, I'm not going to preach about it, and I'm not going to become somebody who's focused on it. But I do think it's really important to talk about things that aren't talked about, and I'm very happy to talk about it. So Instagram, Facebook, website, whatever, people can always write, and if it's not me that's going to talk about it, I can put forward. I'm learning. I'm still quite new. I think it's interesting. I won't run over, but it's interesting. The experience up until lockdown, when you're busy and you're going at it all the time, there's part of your body and your mind that just says, that's okay, I can deal with it. It's fine, I'm dealing. I'll have my surgery. I'll go back to the studio. I'll have my surgery. I'll do this. I'm okay. And you do, because you do. And as a result, it's like I noticed I didn't really ever talk about the previous surgeries on anywhere except with friends. I didn't really talk about them online. So I never had that connection with people from outside. People didn't know about it, so they couldn't. And with lockdown, because I've not got anything on outside of, on the stage, the recovery is taking long. The surgery was bigger. But the recovery is taking longer. And I think that's because I'm allowed to, because I have the time.
Yeah.
Also, I opened myself up to it more. And the messages that I've had from people and the gifts and the warmth has blown me away a little bit, because it made me realize that I kind of missed that warmth the previous times, not from my immediate circle. I had it endlessly, but it's really amazing to be part of it. To be in people's thoughts is a very nice place to be.
Absolutely. And I think, it is a time, and as I said, that, the situations around us, may be on hold, but we're not on hold. Us as humans are not on hold. Our hearts, the love, our art is sacred, and the sacredness of our hearts want to share, want to support. And it's been really wonderful just watching you just stay open. And maybe, Hannah-Lisa, is your calling right now to be a messenger for this. And that's okay. You're always going to sing. You've got a fabulous voice. You've got a fabulous work ethic. You're surrounded by amazing support from amazing, phenomenal leaders in the world of classical music, and you're very gifted as an artist, as a musician, as a singer, as a whole. So, maybe this is just, something that you're going to do alongside for the moment, and use that voice of yours for healing others in that way too. Yeah. It's been so lovely to have you. Thank you for sharing this space with us today. Lovely. And we sending you fairy dust and magic and all the rest to go with it, and more healing, because I know that you're still recovering. So thank you so much for spending time, and thank you everyone for being here and sharing this space with us today. Sending everyone blessings of the day. See you tomorrow morning. Take care.